Hello.
Hi.
Wow, it's been a week. An extra
It was
week.
a weird
A longer
week
week.
off.
Yeah.
You know I didn't like it.
I know. Oh my God, y'all. It was so funny. We didn't record the pod yesterday or last week, but on Friday, she texted me and she was like, "Are you busy tonight? Like, can we record? Do you want to record?" And I was like, "What?" And you're like, "I'm supposed to be working and I just got home and I'm not working because of a thing and I just need to work." And I was like, "What?" Relax.
Yeah.
Relax. And then I saw you posting
on.
singing on your Instagram story and I was like, "Yes, good. Have some like fun time." Like
It was a
but
great week. It was great. I got to spend some really incredible quality time, which was amazing.
I mean,
I don't want to
hell yeah.
think about it too much because then I'll be sad that I'm not there. But...
Oh my gosh.
No,
That's
stop,
so good. Okay, we're good. We won't talk about it, but still so cute. Love this little Cancer moon moment for you right now. This is peak moon Venus for you. Your little Cancer moon, Cancer Venus. You're just like, I can't talk about it or I'm gonna cry because you're happy. And that's so cute.
Yeah.
Love that. By the way, happy almost. Well, by the time this is released, it will be Taurus season.
Yes.
So happy Taurus season, everybody.
Happy Taurus season.
But today, as we record, let me look. I think it actually might. Yes, the sun is in Taurus as we record this. So we are chilling. We are ready to go. And Taurus season. Birthday shout out already to Rachel Lindsay and Cassie Randolph, 2 Taurus queens, both of which we will be discussing today. Cassie only like somewhat. Kit also, yeah, oh. Kit's a Taurus. Maggie from Matt's season's a Taurus. Yeah, man, I want to. Wow.
Oh, Maggie,
Yes. Yeah, she's a Taurus. I think those are the only 2 Taurus that I remember from Bad Season. There maybe was like a 9-1 Taurus, but I don't remember any other ones. Lots of other Virgos and Caps, but
yeah, that's all I remember.
I'm trying to think of any other Taurus people that I can off the top of my head remember. Oh, nope. Brian he's an Aquarius. He's with the Taurus. Whatever. Anyway, Rachel, Kit, Cassie, Maggie. Happy almost birthday. None of you listening to us. Yeah. But hey, they are totally, you're all listening and we love you all. But yeah, anyway, today we're going to talk all about the Bachelorette's chart. Then not the Bachelorette as in Katie or Michelle, but the Bachelorette as in the show, just like we did the episode on the Bachelor's chart. We're now going to do it for the Bachelorette because they are different. We're all in the same franchise umbrella, which is why like we did talk about Rachel Lindsay I'm going to talk about it a little more, but we talked about it last episode too in the Bachelor's episode, but there are more events that are Bachelorette specific that I think kind of apply. It was actually interesting to see how the big events in The Bachelor would show up in the Bachelor's transit chart and how it would like hit these specific themes almost every single chart. And when I was pulling up all the dates for the Bachelorette, it was like the same exact thing. Like everything was hitting all these specific points. Very, very interesting. But before we do that, we have to talk about the news from last week that basically dropped like the day after we would have almost been recording or something, but it's okay because we've got to take a break, which is fine. It's off season. We're all taking a break anyway. We can all take a break to process the fact that Colton Underwood is gay.
Oh my God.
I know. All right. Everybody, Colton Underwood is gay. You all know. If you're listening to this, you definitely know. We posted about it. But a lot of complex feelings on this one. A lot of complex feelings. I feel like I was really surprised that, or not surprised. I was surprised about the Colton thing. But I was thinking about how I had similarly strange, complex feelings, nuanced feelings that I had that when the same time we discussed Taylor Nolan, because that also was so weirdly nuanced, and I never felt like I was ever going to have that kind of conversation. But now here we are again, where it is also an extremely nuanced coming out moment.
Yeah.
Whew! That's a lot. Did you watch the full interview on Good Morning America?
I absolutely did not.
I did. I wanted to see it in my eye holes.
I figured that you would, or I'd watch a clip, but I couldn't.
Yeah, well, the first clip that they tweeted, like, so Good Morning America tweeted out, the interview, which, God, if only that would have happened before doing the Bachelor's chart, I would have pulled that. Oh, man, I could have.
That would have been a good thing to
Man,
discuss.
okay, another thought. That's another time. Maybe we'll do an episode about queer people in the Bachelor, and then eventually or something. Who knows? I would like future. I need more people to come out. Come on, guys. I know that this cannot be an anomaly. It cannot be just an anomaly. But anyway, so nuanced feelings on Colton. But yeah, the Good Morning America interview was interesting. So they tweeted the first 3 minutes. So the first what Twitter, all the big clips of him coming out were literally the first 3 minutes. There was no lead in. It was just like bah, like bah, 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 bah. Yeah, like I said, first 3 minutes were just Colton being like, I'm gay. I have come to terms with this during this last year. He kind of was like, just like everybody, COVID has been a big moment. And he kind of was like, I had a lot of time to reflect. But then he started talking about how there were times where he was feeling suicidal because he was unable to talk about it and tell people, and how he is out to his parents and they were accepting of him. He was saying that he was super nervous and freaked out to come out to anybody in his family because he basically, it was exactly, of course, he played football. He was super into the church. So no matter what, he was going to be it was going to be very hard for him to come out because of all of this shit that has happened to him in his life and the way and the structures in which he's lived under, as we all have, right? We all lived under this crazy heteronormative bullshit. So that one, again, some nuance. Many of these things about Colton's coming out story, I'm like, yeah, totally get you. And then there's this is a lot. But he was saying that he essentially also before I go on for this, Colton is an Aquarius sun and a Scorpio moon, and after this whole situation, I looked up his full chart. He's got a Capricorn stellium, so tons of Capricorn placements. And he has his sun almost exactly on top of his Saturn. It's like a mess. So, I was discussing with Emily, who we will get to have on an episode sometime soon, but we were talking, and I pretty much decided, Colton is a Taurus rising. There is nothing you can do, anybody can do at this point to explain or to do anything, say anything differently, because when he came out, the moon was in Taurus, and I just think a moon on the ascendant moment is a big emotional sharing time to show myself emotionally, share. Here we go. But that being said, if he's a Taurus rising, he would have Sun, Saturn in the 10th house of public life and all that. He would have Moon in the 7th house, which if you've been listening to the pod, you know that people with Moon in the 7th house are extremely common on this show, because natally, it's like when you have the Moon in the 7th, your emotional being is going to be very tied up in your partners and your partnerships and how that works. And so the Capricorn stellium would be in the 9th house. And that being said, the 9th house rules things like religion and institutions. Ugh. So he would have the Capricorn stellium in the 9th house being religion and institutions and all of these things that essentially, like he said, the church, all those things he was stuck under. And then he had Sun, Saturn in the 10th, and the fact that he is doing this so he was his whole. So first of all, Saturn return. Aquarius Saturn return. Matt's in a Saturn return too. Kind of crazy how like we can see how both of them are going through some shit right now, right? But just different flavors because it's different for the chart, everyone's charts. But Colton Saturn return started at the beginning of COVID and was pretty much so when the restraining order stuff against Cassie came out was essentially like his earliest touch of Saturn return. And then when it went retrograde, that was went back into Capricorn. So this was summer 2020 into the fall. He deleted his Instagram and went ghost, gone. Like after the stuff came out, he was gone. And now Aquarius Saturn again, and his Saturn return has passed, his exact Saturn return, and now he's coming out on TV and is like discussing this stuff that happened prior. It's pretty fucking on the nose for astrology, and the fact that
did he actually discuss house, like what happened prior though? Because I hear like that was like part of the complaint.
Not a lot. He didn't. They didn't. So the problem with, I mean, obviously it's Good Morning America. It's ABC,
but like, so my understanding, just tell me if I'm correct or incorrect, but like my understanding was that he basically said like, and I did some really bad shit that I'm sorry for, in like a.
Yeah, they didn't speak. It was not. They did not specifically address exactly like restraining order or whatever. However, he did address Cassie directly. So it wasn't just a like, I'm broad to the world. It was like, I know that Cassie and I owe her apology, and like I never wanted to hurt her, all these things. So he does direct to Cassie, but they don't specifically.
That's just, I think Colton is a huge piece of shit. A huge piece of shit.
I firmly believe he's a piece of shit. I need everybody to know this. Anything I'm talking about with Colton, I'm not going to defend him. I think he's an asshole and whatever. I'm just like thinking about this.
No,
like he did on Good Morning America.
No, but that's what's hilarious is like, so he said on Good Morning America, like he wants to apologize. I'm doing this through you because I didn't watch the interview. My thing is, but he like,
I don't necessarily
came out and said that
she didn't know. Yeah.
So he like
that she didn't know that this was happening, which again, not great. Like,
right. Like you're apologizing to her on TV. Like that seems like a little opportunistic.
I will also say,
okay.
I will also say the interview was extremely edited. Very, very edited. So they could have maybe actually, she may like Robin Roberts or whatever. She may have actually spoken about it. Who knows? Because the cuts between questions were so clear. Like the editing was specific to being fit into only a half-hour segment on this fucking show, right? So I'm wondering like what will happen in the future with Colton and Cassie, and if they will get to have any kind of discussion on their own privately, not him spouting bullshit in public. But back to his chart, Saturn in the 10th house, he's having to learn all of this shit publicly, like actively. And unfortunately, he's a white man and a white gay man, and white gay men are just as much treated like fucking like white gay men, and nowadays might as well be white straight men. Like they are treated almost the same. And yeah, everyone in the world outside is just not pleased with us discussing this.
For all the listeners, that sound in the background is my beautiful teacup black bear, who is alerting me that someone has approached the house. Yes, thank you.
Anyway, basically, I'm convinced Colton is a Taurus rising because of the way that his chart would be set up and how his own life has ended up. While also because the transits of the chart of the day would have been like dead on for that shit. Pluto was like exactly on his Mercury or something, which is very much like literal life changing. Talking about something like I'm showing you something that's going to change everybody's this shit. And yeah, so, but the interview, yeah, he talks about, like I said, he mentions, they talk briefly about it. but it's super brief. And he mentions his like super. I was in a super dark place. I was doing horrible things, and I knew that like that was not cool. Like he was, yeah, again, vaguely owning up to it. Again, not patting him on the back or anything. It's just like at least it wasn't a full "I'm gay" and there was no mention. Could you imagine? That would
I think that if
um
he had a PR person that would have let him get away with that, that's exactly what would have happened. I think that Colton is no more than an opportunist
no,
who
Colton
has.
is a
I
prop.
don't even think that. I think that he's an opportunistic piece of shit who just so happened to be going through something, and like I don't. I've said this, and I told you before we started recording, I send a fucking email to a shit ton of people that work at Netflix. Like, I think that there are a ton of people who come out and who struggle. Like, there are people who have been through, I'm sure, worse circumstances than Colton has had dealing with similar demons that have not harassed and
Of course.
stalked an innocent woman. And the fact that he's being given this redemption arc, I think, is fucking disgusting. I think it's gross. He's an abuser, and he doesn't deserve a platform, period. I don't care about his coming out story.
The Netflix shit is shocking.
I don't care.
The Netflix...
There's how many people come out every day, Shannon, that are more interesting than Colton? Why the fuck is he special, other than the fact that he was on The Bachelor?
That's why he's special. Like, honestly, it sucks, but like that's why he's special. There's never been a lead that has come out before. No matter what, this is a very big moment for the show. It just really fucking is trash that, again,
I don't believe in the people that are
involved in all this bullshit, that he had to be a dick to Cassie. He had to be fucking abusive, and he had to stalk her when he could have just fucking, again, own your shit.
But he also had the option to deal with this privately.
The redemption arc.
He had there's no reason that this needs to be public information. There's no reason why people need to know this, especially if he's like
that's
suffering
also,
that bad.
I disagree. I think
no one asked him for that interview.
Was going to have to come out
because of the documentary, because people found out about the documentary. That's what happened.
No. Well,
there were
GMA was always doing
There were whispers about the fact that Colton was working with Gus and working with Netflix. And when people started to hear about it, people were pissed about it. So he had to go do the interview to say, like, I need to beat you guys to the punch, because there were the gossip rabbits were like picking up on it. That's the whole thing. It's like that's how the interview came to be in existence.
Makes sense. I will say this. I think Colton's coming out story is something that was always, no matter what happened, was always going to be public. He was going to come out like this on some kind of interview because he was the Bachelor, because of all of this stuff. However, I think that the Netflix shit is stupid. What the fuck? No one wants that. That's the part that I'm agreeing with you completely, because the coming out stuff and anybody's coming out story is important, in my opinion, especially, again, a public figure and someone like this who was seen in such a heteronormative way and who like had this very dramatic season. And this is, I'm only thinking about his run on The Bachelor. And again, the abusive shit though, that's fucking horrible. He should never have a Netflix show. He should just have come. He could have just come out on his Instagram, like fucking first post back, comes out gay. That's fine. But the fact that, coming out on TV like this to promote a Netflix special, that's not fucking okay. I hate that. Will I be possibly looking at the Netflix thing? It's possible, because I am that person who can't not watch any of these things. I am complicit because I watched The Bachelor. So, but this man, again,
you'll have to let me know
he does not deserve to have this Netflix thing.
As someone who, like,
just like when you were reading like Ben Higgins' book.
But it's just like
you should also read Tyler Cameron's.
I refuse to do that too. But like Honesty Hour, like being completely real, I'm someone who's been abused and harassed by multiple partners in a multitude of different ways. I've really experienced the spectrum, and I'm telling you right now, the fucking fury that I would rain down on the people responsible if they like glossed over the trauma you inflicted on me so that you can get this redemption arc that I was talking about. And like, for what? Because really, like, no one cares about Colton. He disappeared after this like stalking thing, and no one really missed him. So you're correct in the
No,
fact
I
that,
didn't
like,
miss
yeah,
him.
sure, like his sexuality is now up for public discussion, and that's what bothers me about it. Is like I know this might seem a little harsh. Obviously, I'm incredibly happy for anyone who comes out and like finds peace within themselves. I think that everyone deserves that. I feel very strongly about the fact that if you're sitting there and you're
Yeah.
struggling and you are having such a hard time, but then you jump at the chance to like essentially be praised by millions of people, then like I find it a little
Yeah.
harder to
White man bullshit.
sympathize with you. I find it a little more difficult to relate to you because like that makes no sense to me. I don't follow that logic.
That's fair. It's funny because you're a Leo and he's an Aquarius. And you're like, why the fuck would I do that and put myself in front of tons of people to suffer ever? Versus Aquarius, who's like, I am the one single special sufferer and I must be
Maybe that's
praised.
what it
Literally,
is.
like people think that Leo, yeah,
Because
it totally
I'm like,
no. I mean,
I am down to be real.
Here we go, pulling it all to astrology.
Like I'm down to be honest about my
but
struggles.
you
Like nothing's perfect, but like if I was
yeah,
the days that
and
I'm
that's
suicidal,
what
I'm not
something
podcasting
else
about it because I'm in pain and
right,
I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, Colton, it's fascinating because Aquarius people are kind of like this, and that's another thing that and not like Colton, and I'm not saying Aquarius people are like abusers. This is not, again, disclaimer, this is not an equation to that. That is an action he chose, but specific things he says about, he's talking of, like when I was watching his interview, the way he talks about himself, I was like, oh my god, that's the most Aquarius shit. He was literally like, I knew I was different. I was a different person. I was different than everyone else ever since I was 6 years old. I was different than all the boys on the football team. I was different.
Which is funny because like
this Aquarius wants to be the single one out, but then what you're about to say probably is that usually they're not in, like, Aquariuses are always in some kind of clique. Like they're always in that group, but they weirdly feel like the odd one out of it, even though no one is like, even though, okay, it's different for Colton. He was talking about, you know, like on football, when you're in like fucking high school and football, and they're all talking, using gay as an insult and shit. And he would be like, yeah, so I obviously repressed that because that was
and that's
shit.
gotta be like really fucking hard.
But the fact that,
no doubt about it,
it's crazy to me though. And this isn't also a moment where I'm ready to talk shit on the show and also ABC, because ABC GMA chose to gloss over. If he was on some other news network and was like doing this, I bet you they probably would have tried a little harder to try to talk to him about it. But ABC was like, "Oh yeah, no, it's fine. No. We don't need to talk about the fact that you had a restraining order from your ring winner." And she was literally, there's substantial evidence that you have admitted to stuff.
It was the text messages that got
me.
Woo!
Crazy.
The second that I read
when I read that entire document,
he wrote himself, right? The ones he wrote himself,
insane. Yeah. Oh my god. Again, fucking idiot. He's such
that's okay, but like that's a clear.
Just come out of the closet.
Demonstration
Literally,
that, like,
this
something's
is like,
not right,
just
right?
come
Like the
out.
fact that he could write those things to himself, like he obviously believed them when he wrote them, and that's fucking tragic. Like I was angry. I remember reading the document, and I remember feeling really angry from like Cassie's perspective, like having been in that position. But I remember reading those text messages, and like while I was angry reading everything prior, when I got there, my heart genuinely ached for him, because you could, like, that is very clearly a person in pain. That is clearly a person that is hurting so really bad, and like that was apparent, and I genuinely empathize with that. I was like, I am the first person to tell everyone that I myself have a shit ton of demons, and they're really fucking evil. So like, I really do get it. However, I've never felt and maybe that's it. Maybe I'm projecting, because like I truly don't understand. But like I said it to you in a text message. Like, people make choices. Like Colton made choices that had nothing to do, that were unrelated.
So what I would think was fascinating about it all, and not fascinating in a like, wow, I love it, but just like, wow, was thinking about how gay men, even gay men who are out, especially gay white men, but gay men, gay white cis men, really specific here, they still very much benefit from patriarchy. So they still are so often some of the biggest perpetrators of like literally just sexism, full-blown misogynistic bullshit, like, because they're and especially the closeted ones like Colton. Like, that's why some girls. It's kind of the joke with girls. Well, he needs like certain things about Colton, the virgin thing, where he literally on air said, was like, yeah, I didn't know how to like answer about being a virgin because like I just knew that it was because I was gay. Like, I'm just like sitting there like, dude, because the internalized homophobia he had, like, so afraid of not only coming out because of church and family and sports, but just his own shame against
Yeah.
it was like so intense that it caused him to fucking feel like men who are like, okay, I feel so hurt, I must hurt someone else. And he did say, I will say, my favorite line that he said in the interview was, he goes, and he was like choking up, not tears because he's still an Aquarius, but he was getting there. And he goes, honestly, I really wish that I could have fixed myself before breaking someone else. And I was just like, damn. I mean, yeah, because that was all of it. Is he was like so fucked up from his own internalized homophobia that it ramped up his fucking misogyny. It was so complex. Again, the nuance. Ugh. But anyway, we don't have to keep talking about him because and I have too much fun shit to talk about with the Bachelorette.
Yeah.
But anyway, Colton, please don't
just
fucking
take some
like,
fucking
Netflix,
time.
why?
Like,
I think it's already done.
Just go live your life like out of the public eye for a minute. Try it on.
I don't think he gets to do that. I think that Saturn return is keeping.
And that's what's nuts, is because like he
like,
could.
Too, again,
like,
the shame. The people that are gonna keep shitting on him though. Like, again, back to this. So yeah, he's gonna be on Netflix, but like the complaints and everything that's gonna come out of this is going to be insane. Like, he's going to be inundated with all of this too. So the public learning will still happen. He's got a couple of years until we've all got a couple of years. Like Aquarius, Saturn,
and maybe this is what it is. I'm not even necessarily mad at Colton. I'm just like truly fucking confused because like I had another friend text me like, "What are your thoughts on Colton?" And we talked about it for a bit, and it literally is just like. You were.
It's fun being the Bachelorette for a Bachelor friend, right? Because everybody like, texts you about it.
You were, as we said, like, we're away. You were out of the public eye, and people really weren't thinking about you that much. Like, no one was really like, "Where's Colton?" Like, on, you know what I mean? Like, no one really cared. And he, like you said, could have just like put it on a fucking Instagram story, like he did with his announcement when he was allegedly stalking his ex-girlfriend. Like, put it on his fucking Instagram story, come out, and then stay away. Like, literally, like I was saying, like, try it on for size. Like, try on just, like, living like a normal person, your newfound life, like, your newly realized sexuality. Like, go enjoy it. Live your life off of the fucking screen for a month. Try it for a month, bro. Like, what are you doing?
This is 100% why I believe... It's 100% why I believe he's a Taurus rising, because I think that he has Aquarius in the 10th, and I think his sun is there. I think his sun sign, and again Saturn, if that's the case, is literally keeping him in public. Like, he can't.
And I know you're saying that, and like my mind is not computing it because I'm like, but he could.
I know, because you're the Leo.
But he really could.
It is so funny. No, I know, but he's not gonna. So we'll just have to see what the fuck happens. It's wild to me that he's getting Netflix versus just like a book.
Well, because he already wrote a book,
like,
and it didn't
surprised
do well.
He's not just writing a book. Oh, that's right.
I mean,
none of them do
well. I don't know.
They're all boring.
I didn't hear any good things about it.
Who knows? Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, let's pivot. Let's talk about the Bachelorette and the show. The Bachelorette. Good old flashback to 2003 when we have Trista and Ryan. Trista's first season of The Bachelorette premieres. She was the runner-up from Alex Michelle, or actually she was either the runner-up or the top 3. Can't fully remember, but whatever. But she was one of the first, or was obviously first Bachelorette, and still to this day is with her man. Bravo.
Bravo, that's a fucking
Trista,
feat,
because
dude.
not many of them are.
Good for you guys.
Literally. Well, it's funny. It is more common, as you know, it's more common for Bachelorette women to stay with their men versus Bachelor men.
I wonder why that is.
Gee, I wonder if men have penises that they think with. Yeah. So Sean Lowe, good for you. Love Sean and Catherine, even though they are for sure Republicans. I just like accept that the problematic people I follow, not the, like problematic, and not that they do anything publicly problematic, but just knowing that they're those people. I'm just like, all right, I pick and choose the few that I will follow. But anyway, the Bachelorette premiered on January 8th, 2003. It was a Wednesday, randomly, not a Monday. Fun fact. Right? Which is funny because Wednesday, so for everybody who knows their planetary days, Wednesday is a Mercury day because every single day is ruled by a different planet. And it's really apparent if you know Spanish because like Monday is Lunes, Tuesday is Martes, and Monday is Moon Day. So Tuesday is Mars Day, Wednesday is Mercury Day, Thursday is Jupiter Day, Friday is Venus Day, which is why Fridays are the most fun day. Saturday is Saturn Day, and then Sunday is Sunday. So anyway, Wednesday, Mercury Day, and hello, the Bachelorette's chart is ruled by Mercury. And it is a Virgo rising versus the Bachelor's chart, which is a Scorpio rising. So it's interesting that we have this Earth rising instead of a water rising. And then the sun sign of the Bachelorette's chart is the Capricorn, and then the moon is in Aries. So it's funny because the moon sign is usually rules. So in like a natal chart for a person, I would look at the moon sign being like, okay, what's the mother? Like, or a parent of this person. Like usually our moon signs very often reflect something in our parents' chart, or generally like, or something like in very familial. So it's funny because the Bachelorette's chart is an Aries moon and the Bachelor's chart is an Aries sun.
Interesting.
So the moon, so the literal parent of this show could not have existed without the Bachelor first, and the parent of it is an Aries, and so this Bachelorette show gets the Aries moon. Fascinating, right? I love family astrology, so it's kind of funny to like think about the Bachelor franchise charts
as like relatives,
as like the different shows as like family charts together. So actually I should pull up while I'm looking at it. I should just pull up the Bachelor's chart to have reference in my brain. But anyway, so Capricorn Sun, Aries Moon, Virgo Rising, a completely different vibe than the Aries Sun, Leo Moon, Scorpio Rising of The Bachelor, which is interesting because I think that The Bachelorette, there's drama, right? But the drama is different
that is true.
than The Bachelor's drama, right? The Bachelor drama is like, whew, I mean, shit, Queen Victoria, fucking Crystal Neal, like all these different... right? Oh, it's been so long. Whereas the drama on The Bachelorette is most often, in my opinion, more related to like miscommunications, especially because men don't know how to communicate typically in relationships. Not a lot of them, and not a lot of the ones that stay on the show, right? And it's even better because Virgo rising means that the chart ruler is Mercury, and Bachelorette's Mercury is Capricorn Mercury retrograde. Is chart ruler is Mercury retrograde. Literally constant miscommunications. Oh, also kind of funny how the chart ruler being Mercury retrograde, and The Bachelorette is one of the shows that was the first one to get fucked by COVID, right? And the literal logistics, because Mercury is like logistic. Literally got, I mean, shit. Like La Quinta season was shit compared to bad. You know, Matt's. Like it was not even a little bit fucking.
Oh, you're referring to that like hometown date with the cardboard taxi?
Small potatoes. Wow, or the tiny little like fucking, what was it, cornhole designed as like a carnival where Piper gets the big ass fucking spectacle. God, it's almost as if the Leo moon totally runs wild on The Bachelor. They get all the big grand things where The Bachelorette is more practical. Capricorn
We don't want these emotional
Sun,
women to
Virgo
get too
rising.
excited.
Exactly. Can't handle it. So that is kind of what is, I think, the funniest part to me. Also, they have Saturn retrograde in Gemini, which, and again, because this still premiered during, I thought it was interesting that both The Bachelor and Bachelorette premiered during, actually, so The Bachelor has, the Bachelor show chart has Gemini Saturn also, but it is direct, whereas The Bachelorette's is retrograde. And it's interesting to me that not only, so Saturn retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, and Mercury retrograde, all in the Bachelorette's chart. And to me, that definitely seems like, oh, we're giving a second chance to that girl who got dumped. Literally, a retrograde is, oh, we have another cast member you already know, and we're going to put her here. And it's continual. And literally, The Bachelorette created the idea that this is what happens. And The Bachelor didn't even become, because now The Bachelor also is recycled, but The Bachelor wasn't recycled for quite a while, whereas The Bachelorette always was. The Bachelorette was always a runner-up from a season prior.
Eligible bachelors.
Random. Literal eligible bachelors. There was the one season. It's been
Andrew
so funny, actually.
Firestone. They had
remember the
heir to Firestone,
right?
Like the fucking tire company. Like he was the Bachelor.
Honestly,
and now we've got fucking Pilot Pete.
We need to be having right wimpy ass Pilot Pete.
I've been saying this from the jump. I need them. I started saying this, and it was, maybe this is some internalized misogyny that I have to work through, but I started saying this when they started casting the more influencer-y type women, that I was like, we need to start casting more just like legitimate eligible like Bachelor and Bachelorettes. I don't consider you an eligible Bachelorette if you're straight out of college. Point blank, period. Like no other fact. It doesn't matter.
Nope. Agreed. Yeah, I mean the original was people were in their 30s and much later 20s.
Established,
it was a completely
successful,
vibe. Yeah.
Legitimate
and also,
careers.
Again,
what?
Social media didn't matter because it didn't exist.
Well, yeah,
like it wasn't even a thing yet. And so without Instagram, it is completely able to take on a different vibe. So anyway, funny that we have all of these retrograde placements for our replace of the lead just gets to be someone who got dumped before, but we get new guys for The Bachelor. So also, all right, so I'm gonna just run through other placements. So I said Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, Sagittarius Venus in the 4th house, Mars in Scorpio in the 3rd house. So even some similar themes from The Bachelor. Like we're still getting all the same placements because again, Jupiter is in Leo, so the Leo moon, like this similar other planets are here. They're just not in the big 3. They're not in that forefront. And then again, retrograde Jupiter Leo in the 12th house, which is secret. I think a lot of things have gone on in secret in The Bachelor or in The Bachelorette. Like there's been more sex had randomly on The Bachelorette, you know. Actually, I should have looked up that chart.
Well, we don't know.
I looked up the chart when Nick Viall. I know, but the air date is good enough, especially since it's a show. So it's really only, its chart is really only working when it's public to us. So if we don't see it's still happening. And sure, there was I could probably guess. I bet you by now someone's got a timeline of when Nick Viall and Kaitlyn Bristowe actually had sex.
Oh, for sure.
But whatever. So the North Node, so the difference here is, again, same North Node and same South Node with North Node in Gemini and South Node in Sagittarius. However, the North Node in the Bachelorette's chart is on the midheaven. So it's interesting because I think that the Bachelorette has moments like Rachel Lindsay, like that, some of the more jarring things, but not, I don't know, almost like The Bachelorette is where shit gets almost like more real. Again, more women stay with their
They're more like
men.
cultural
Rachel Lindsay was the
resets within
first.
the
Yeah.
franchise, I feel like.
Yes. Right. Yeah. And then we have Tasha and Claire
Yeah.
and all of these different
Like all the
right. Yep.
changes
Double
happen
Bachelorettes.
during the Bachelorette
Yeah.
seasons.
Yep. And then it picks up and
Because we
solidifies in
even,
the
when you think about the
Bachelor.
fact that we even had our first Black Bachelorette before we had our first Black Bachelor. So like all of the shifts happen within the Bachelorette.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
And we had the oldest Bachelorette also was
yeah.
But well, actually somebody was older. I think there was somebody in the 40s, an early bachelor in the 40s. Maybe?
I do not recall.
Or maybe they were always mid 30s.
I thought they were like mid to early 30s, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. But okay, and so Saturn retrograde Gemini. Okay, and Uranus and Neptune are in Aquarius, and then Pluto is in Sagittarius because all those are the same in the Bachelor's chart too. Yeah. But so okay, another thing too. Chiron is. I talked briefly about how the Bachelor has a Capricorn Chiron, and so does the Bachelorette. But what's interesting, so Bachelor. I briefly talked about the Bachelor Chiron being like very much about how they have to kind of heal these wounds caused by structures that they have stuck under, aka like heteronormativity, whiteness, like those kinds of things. The Bachelorette's chart has a Capricorn Sun and Mercury, and the Sun is very close to Chiron. Like Chiron is much closer to actual planets in the Bachelorette's chart, whereas in the Bachelor's chart, it's kind of chilling on its own. But with it being the Chiron being on the Sun, really close to the Sun in this chart, it almost is making me think of how like some of the more real discussions happen on The Bachelorette. Like people kind of show themselves. These men, like I'm thinking about Zach and why am I wanting to call him Isaac? Ivan. Jesus.
Oh, I was like, I don't even know who you're talking about for a second. What?
No, I was literally like, fuck. Yeah, because Ivan, when he talked about his brother and the police brutality and just everybody like these men and also the Bachelorette, like we see the Bachelorette usually kind of goes through more emotional turmoil. I mean, they ruin the Bachelor, but the Bachelorette just it's interesting how the wounds seem more present. Also, it's in the 5th house along with the Sun and Mercury retrograde, and the 5th house rules dating. So, of course, we have all that. 5th house also rules children. So, I think it's funny that, Catherine and actually all of the kids, other than Catherine and Sean's, are from BIP couples. Jade and Tanner, Evan and Carly, or Bachelor couples now, Ari and Lauren. And yeah, and Crystal, she has a baby now, but she wasn't with the couple. Anyway, yeah. But all right, anyway. So yeah, Moon in 8th, Aries. So Bachelorette's chart is pretty interesting. Lots of like I think the most fascinating thing to me is the Mercury retrograde chart ruler, which again shows the differences between a very Mars drama fight chaos show that is The Bachelor versus Mercury, which is more thought out but also miscommunication central because men don't know how to communicate themselves, and things like COVID just really hit it harder.
Fucked it up.
And love how there's Saturn Pluto. Is there Saturn Pluto?
What does that mean?
Yeah, but it's closer. So Saturn and Pluto are very intense planets. Saturn and Pluto were in the same sign, both in Capricorn in the beginning of 2020. So it kind of set off everything that happened in 2020. I could do an entire episode. I could do an entire episode about the astrology of 2020. I made a PowerPoint. But Saturn in this chart is opposite Pluto. And for me, that is very much like, so this was also Saturn op Pluto was like 9/11. I mean, this was 2003. So this very intense intense energy. But both the Bachelor and the Bachelorette have it in their chart, so it makes sense that all of the drama and all of the changes, all of the lessons they have to learn are massive. Like Me Too, black people being able to find love, queer people being on the show, like all these things, they are huge issues to overcome. It's not just little itty bitty things that they deal with on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Whew. But all right, I can't ramble a lot because I have a lot of other charts to talk about. So the first chart I want to talk about is this is a really random one that I pulled because I was curious. But remember when on the After the Final Rose, I didn't even watch this season, but I did watch the YouTube clip before this. But Nick Viall in Andy Dorfman's season of The Bachelorette.
I have not
and
seen.
Nick was, so this is his first appearance ever in the franchise, and he is her runner-up. She picks Josh Murray instead, but then he comes on After the Final Rose, and it is almost one of the earliest times that they discuss sex openly. And he immediately, that was when Nick Viall is crying and asks Andy, he goes, I don't know why, if you didn't love me, why you would make love to me. It's so corny and embarrassing. He's such a Libra.
No,
but
honestly, I view that as like a really manipulative power play. Because he made her.
Yeah,
that
was literally like,
when we talk about like misogyny and like the patriarchy and all that stuff, that was his way of being like,
yep,
I'm the damsel.
So annoying.
How could you, Andy?
Yep.
I loved you for real.
And
brilliant.
And exactly, and it made him seem more sympathetic, hence why he was able to roll through onto The Bachelor, the next season of Caitlyn's.
But it wouldn't have been the same if he was like, then why'd you fuck me?
Yep. And so on that day, that day, Sun and Mercury were in Cancer. Of course, he's crying his little baby boy eyes out. Venus was separating, so not super close to, but Venus was in Gemini, leaving Saturn. So interesting that the woman in this scenario, aka Venus, is like being kind of confronted. And then that was in the 10th house too, so very much public. Putting that public romance on display. Actually wild to think about how this means that during the entire transit of Venus and Gemini was her season. I wonder if she's a Gemini or something. But that means that it was transiting over the midheaven Venus, a female ruler, a female person looking for love publicly in the 10th house on the midheaven. But anyway, so it's past Saturn, so she's now having to deal with like the fallout kind of last bits. But Mars was right on the North Node in Libra at the time, and Nick is a Libra. And it was in the 2nd house of values. And so it's funny that he's talking about like this, like, well, why would you do this to me? This value of mine, this sex love thing.
Yeah, his like really fun moral
high
horse.
The other thing though, yeah,
which is hilarious when you think about like who is Nick
Nick,
what moral
launching his own podcast network,
man.
Yeah, but so the other thing that is going to end up being a theme, which is wild. Again, the theme to this is Pluto was in Capricorn at this time, and it was right on the show's Chiron, like exactly 11 degrees. And so that being said, very much like this is one of these dramatic open moments, right? A very vulnerable, upsetting open discussion. And again, 5th house about some sex. So also this was the announcement. This day also was the announcement of Bachelor in Paradise, like the first season. So kind of funny. I wonder. Actually,
I wondered when that started. Actually,
pull the chart for Bachelor in Paradise. It was after this.
Well, they're like, well, now that we're talking about sex, you might as well have a little fun with it.
Yep. Here we go. Yeah, literally, we might as well all let everybody fuck. To the point where inevitably we'll have the Me Too moment on the show with Corinne and DeMario. Whew. All right. Anyway, next up I have the chart for Rachel's
And we should do
announcement
one of
as the
these for
Bachelorette.
Bachelor in Paradise. Like about the Bachelor in Paradise show's chart. And we have to talk about the woman who had who left with a crew member.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, the Bachelor, I bet you there's some weird, I wonder what's going on with it because, yeah, there's some chaos from, like,
but that was like
pure
a whole,
chaos
that was
happens
like a
on
whole
Bachelor in
thing was
Paradise.
that like she ended up like falling in love with somebody or like falling for like a cameraman or like a producer or something. I can't remember which. And then she left Bachelor in Paradise because she was in a relationship with a producer.
Oh,
Probably not. I highly doubt it.
Yeah, definitely not.
Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Anyway, yes. We should do one for the Bachelor in Paradise.
That'd be a really good thing to
love
talk about that moment.
I'm
curious about. Now that we're talking about chaos.
Oh, yeah, because there's a lot of moments, right? I mean, we talked about them. I talked about like Demi, but honestly, I was thinking about it, how I did talk about a lot of Bachelor in Paradise moments on the Bachelor's chart episode.
Yeah.
As I was pulling things from there, I was like, wait, I talked about Demi on there. So, but yeah, whatever.
Becca showing up for
the Bachelor
Colton
is interesting because it is way. More of the, and it's also the,
pissing.
Oh my
Tia
god,
off.
Tia.
No, I don't think it's relevant. But the moment where Tia tells Becca that Colton was her ex, and then Becca let Colton go subsequently.
Oh, that was on. That was on the Bachelorette. I could have pulled a chart for that.
I totally forgot about that
entirely.
Until just now.
Wow. Well, all right. Back to Rachel. So Rachel's announcement was on February 13th, 2017. And it was wild because with this chart, so Sun was on Uranus in Aquarius. So Sun in Aquarius, a revolutionary change, aka Aquarius themes, on Uranus, which is again another change of unexpected change, right? So here we go with Rachel. Mercury was right on Neptune. Mercury was in Aquarius also, but it was literally like almost exactly on Neptune. Is what, at 8 degrees? Yeah, okay, 1 degree away from their Neptune, which to me, that is very much why Rachel ended up being this prop, like this person to have to talk about all the race stuff, all of this. She was the diversity person. And I definitely think it's because of that Mercury Neptune. Pluto, again, in Capricorn, was exactly on the show's Sun in Capricorn, which is literally a transformative. So Pluto rules huge transformations. It moves very slowly, but it's interesting all of the interactions it makes with the Bachelorette's chart over time, because now Pluto is still in Capricorn, but we're almost finally out of it into Pluto Aquarius, like 2 more years, which sounds like forever, but it's been in Capricorn since 2008.
I was gonna say in the scheme of like the universe, it's a blip.
Yeah, really though. So anyway, Pluto on show's Sun, again, huge transformation based on the identity of the show, because the Sun is the identity. Sun rules the identity, and it is what we see. So it's fast. Again, the lead of the show changes up, and Pluto. So this is something that is I remember reading and on Twitter. So by an astrologer named Sam Reynolds, and he is a Black man, and he has a talk about how he believes Pluto, the planet, is actually very much related to Black people and Black people's experience. I'm a white person, so I don't have a bunch on it. But when I remember when I was reading it, I was like, wow, interesting. And I remember scrolling through comments, and people were like, oh my God, yeah, I have this Pluto thing, because Pluto is like a planet of generational trauma. And if there is anybody, especially in America, who has like some of the most intense generational trauma, it is Black people. So that was kind of his argument with Pluto. So it's fascinating to me that Pluto on the Sun of the show was giving us our first Black lead ever. And She was a good one.
I love her.
Anyway, and then Saturn was in Sagittarius, also kind of near the show's Pluto, separating from it. So Saturn was in Sagittarius, opposite Saturn in oh wow, wait, where's Saturn? Hang on. Saturn. Oh my god, yeah, exactly opposite the show Saturn. So kind of a like a responsibility reckoning and having to take responsibility for something. And I think because again, retrograde Saturn in Gemini for the show, it's interesting that it's like they were doing it. It should have happened so much sooner, but they were like, okay, we'll finally do it in 2017. Jesus, which I can't believe that's like not that long ago.
No, it is not.
Yeah. Also, the moon was in Virgo on the day of her announcement, and that's in the first house of the show's chart, and the North Node was also in Virgo. So again, big changes. True vulnerability moment. Love to see it. All right. Next I have, oh god. Actually, now I'm going to play the game. Guessing game. What was it? July 15th, 2019. I think this was Hannah B and Luke P. Hannah B saying to Luke, I had sex in a windmill and Jesus still loves me. Oh, I mean, it was like, I kind of just was doing random Googling. I was like, iconic Bachelorette moments. And that was on there. I was like, oh, of course, I should definitely look at this. Love how Sun, North Node, and Venus were all in Cancer. But it was opposite Capricorn and Pluto. And Cancer and Capricorn are very much these structures, especially Capricorn. And so that and Mars. Oh my god. Mars was in Leo, and so was Mercury, but Mercury was retrograde. Oh my god. So it's so funny to me because again, Mercury retrograde, and she is just like, letting it loose. She's going off, doesn't care. Also, wow, I really should have run the fucking. I should have run the Jed shit. Oh my god.
There's far too much Jed shit.
Whatever.
Like.
Doesn't matter because Mercury retrograde though shows me that it was definitely fucking retrograde, I bet, when the show ended. Hence why her and Jed are donezo. Like I can't. Wow, I wonder if some of the breakups, this is another day in another rabbit hole, but I wonder if some of the breakups for the show align with Mercury retrograde because of Mercury retrograde and the chart ruler.
Maybe so.
Wow. But anyway, what I love about this, Mars and Mercury in Leo, and she is just letting it out. I had sex. Mars literally rules sex. She's just straight up yelling it. She does not care. Plus, it's transiting the show's 12th house, and typically we don't get to like directly hear, especially on the show. Like it's one thing to hear on After the Final Rose that there was sex happening in the fantasy suites with all the people or whatever, but on the actual show before final episode, it's very rarely talked about unless it was like a big thing.
Seeing it, and again, like, you assume that it must be talked about. It must come up. It must come up.
Yep.
We obviously don't see it.
Yes. Like I feel like it. Right. And so Luke, this dumbass boy, is trying to shame her. Oh, and also Luke is an Aries and Chiron is an Aries at the time.
Oh,
Chiron was close to his sun. And Neptune is on his, I bet Neptune's on his moon too. That's fucking messy. But I also love too the moon at the time was in Capricorn and in the 5th house, and so we're having this like she's getting emotional, but in a very firm, direct, fuck you way. She was not emotional crying about this happening. She was telling this man off.
Like she was
like, wait. Which makes me, the moon was in Capricorn and the sun was in Cancer. The moon was going to be full, like, in probably a day. The moon was in 0 degree Capricorn, so still some time, but doesn't matter. Love to see it. Love that. Love Hannah B yelling that. I love that. I also, Pluto and Capricorn was on the show's Mercury. Again, transformational moment, but she is fucking screaming about it. And then Saturn was on the Sun of the show, and these structures like virginity and sex before marriage and religion in that context was all being kind of like toppled. Like she was like, yeah, it's fine. Like I can still do this
fuck your
and still be a
expectations.
Christian. Exactly. God, and Jupiter was in Sagittarius too. God, look at all that fire. This is good ass fire chart. Like I love it. And Jupiter too on Sagittarius, Venus, not exactly on it, but it's in there. Oh God, yeah. She was just
Love to
letting
see
it all
it.
out. And Hannah herself is a Libra. She's a Libra with a Virgo moon. So moon in the first house of the show. So she was very emotional on the show and like very present with her emotions. Love to see it. So my next chart, this is where it gets kind of like fun because it's much more recent
Love
in
it.
memory. So this is the day that Claire was announced as the Bachelorette. So the reason I pulled this chart is because Claire inevitably had to go back into like they had to stop filming. So it was announced. So because this is right. So COVID was like mid-March, right? But before she was announced on March 2nd, 2020. So this announcement again goes awry because she doesn't get to do the Bachelorette as the time, and she has to go back and they have to stop filming, which I have a chart for that too. But this chart has a Mercury retrograde in Pisces, which who's a fucking Pisces? Well, actually fun. So Claire, someone finally asked Claire on her stories if she what her birth chart is and her birth time. And then she said that she lost her birth certificate and doesn't know. And I wanted to jump through my phone and strangle her. Ooh, I was so mad. I was so upset. So bothered. So I will never know.
It's totally possible.
I will never know.
True.
I don't believe it either. I think she was just being.
For whatever reason, I don't believe it.
She did say though in the video she was like, so many astrology people have been asking me, and I'm like, yeah, it's me and Bachelor horoscopes, literally us two, hounding your DMs. So anyway, she is unsure if she's a Pisces or an Aries, but either way, she has a Pisces Venus. So Pisces, the 7th house of the Bachelorette's chart was in Pisces. So the Pisces Sun, Neptune, and Pisces Mercury retrograde were happening. So of course, her announcement being during Mercury retrograde literally went wrong. Like, never. This is your lesson for everybody. Never announce anything during Mercury retrograde if you can avoid it. Like announcements that you want to stick. It's one thing if you're just like saying something somewhere, like, but like if you're trying to put something out on social media or announce a big thing or a big project, don't do it during Mercury retrograde. Something's gonna go wrong. Yeah, so that one is the big one. The moon was in Gemini on the midheaven, which makes me just think that's just like announcement, like our new lead. But Chiron, transiting Chiron in Aries, was exactly on the sun or the Aries moon of the show, and Mars was on the show's Chiron. So there's double Chiron action happening. And Jupiter was on the sun. Pluto and Saturn were on the show's Mercury retrograde. Yeah, this was literally never going to work. Like, she was this chart was doomed from the start. And it makes sense because then again, the announcement of her being of the show cutting filming, Mercury was on Uranus in Aquarius, but it was direct again. So the solidified decision happened. So Mercury retrograde during her announcement, but then the announcement of the show cutting to or cutting filming and stopping, Mercury was direct. So it's fascinating because, again, that was what stuck. We had to be in we had to cut the show. So then it makes me think about too, I bet Mercury was back in Pisces and probably wasn't too far from her Venus when she was fucking looking at Dale and all of the Instagram, and she was literally Mercury. She is on social media fantasizing Pisces Mercury about these people that she's going to meet in however
Honestly, though.
many months whenever they let her. Like,
That is so funny.
that's hilarious to me. Also Uranus at this time, Taurus, Venus was in Taurus on top of Uranus, and so of course we're getting a shakeup with the way this is going. And Mars was on the show's sun sign, and it was a big like cut moment. Literally, like Mars cut it off. It cut the filming off. We were done. A hard stop. So, oof. And then, so I have two charts for Tayshia's announcement because there was the E! News article and then there was the show finally announcing her. So the article in E!, the kind of spoiler, quote unquote, came out on August 3rd, 2020. And Venus was right on top of Saturn. The show's Saturn. Venus in Gemini. Also, North Node was in Gemini. And this, like, kind of, like, Venus, again, back to women. Tayshia is, like, the replacement. Right on top of the show's Saturn. Like, oopsie, you thought. Sun also in the 12th house. Oh my god, wow, wait. And then because by the time the announcement happened, the sun is totally gone. So it was a spoiler because Sun was in the 12th house, and the 12th house rules hidden things, secret things. And so Sun being in Leo, in the 12th house of the show, transiting 12th house, is very much like this announcement isn't official. It's a secret. We are spoiling it. We are bringing out a secret into light because the sun, if you think about it, any house it's transiting at the time is shining a big spotlight, the sunlight, onto the themes of that house. So this is the only planet in Leo at this time. And so it's interesting that it's the only thing with the spotlight, like, oh, yeah, this is actually what's happening behind the scenes. And Mercury was in Cancer. And I'm pretty convinced
I could see it.
She's got the boobies. Yeah, right. So emotional. And if she's a Cancer rising, then her man Zach, his sun sign, would fall in his in her 7th house, which mwah, beautiful synastry. Anyway, so also on the day of Tayshia's spoiled announcement, like most Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto were all retrograde, and Neptune and Chiron. So all the outer planets, the big planets, were retrograde. So it's like all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes, we're backing it up. But then by the time that it's actually announced, all that stuff was direct. So it's like the retrograde stuff is happening where it's kind of like, shifty, we're not sure. But then again, when it's direct, it's like, oh, here we are. Just like with Claire's announcement. Her first announcement had Mercury retrograde, but the second announcement of the show cutting off filming was Mercury direct. It's like when planets are retrograde, it's not that things never stick. It's just that, like, it's so common, especially when there's a fuckload of planets in retrograde. But those things usually are moving parts more, and then the direct, when they go direct, is when themes of that kind of feel solid again, where you're like, oh, I was going through this weird thing for a couple months. It wasn't like bad. Like sometimes it can be bad, but it's like, I was just this one thing was kind of bothering me for 3 months, or something was kind of happening a lot, but now it's over. Oh, Jupiter was retrograde for 3 months. You can kind of like note how these retrograde planets, and not just Mercury retrograde, obviously that, but in that example, Mercury retrograde, something happens, you have a conversation during Mercury retrograde, but by the time it's direct, you maybe refresh on that conversation and it's completely changes or something. So anyway, all of the stuff during her spoiled announcement being retrograde versus direct, in her actual announcement is no surprise. Because it's funny, I was shocked seeing how far apart this was. The first her spoiled announcement was August 3rd, and her actual show announcement was
I
November 6th.
People going crazy, being like, "Is this a rumor? Is this what's happening?" Because they tried to keep it. Like, I remember the rumors of even clues.
Yep.
Like, we love talking about Game of Roses. Plug that podcast really quick. Game of Roses, it's great. But like, Clues was like, I think there's going to be a wedding. Like, we know that something is happening. Like, even before we knew it was Tayshia, we knew that something had gotten fucked up within the season. And then, yeah, it's so interesting.
Yep.
So interesting.
Yeah. So I love it. I love all these patterns because again, Pluto is just hovering around all of the Bachelorette shows.
I'm so curious because E is usually like pretty reputable when it comes to report. Like, they don't usually report rumors, I feel like, but maybe I'm mistaken.
That's why I feel like that was something done on purpose. I don't know, God, because it's like it feels like it was like Venus. I'm trying to think. Well, okay. Mercury was transiting the 11th house of the show during the E! News spoiler, and the 11th house of the show I would kind of point to being like the press, because so if we're looking at the 10th house being you know the network and like what's presenting us the show, the 11th house is the fans, but also any of the people, the community, Bachelor Nation, like all of the reporters, all of the pop people, and anyone, literally us, we fall in the in that 11th house. So it's interesting that Mercury, which is also a planet of like journalism, writing, reporting, was in the 11th. So I feel like again, it was good. It was, and also it was correct information, but it's just it makes me wonder like who was the one to like drop it. I mean, I know Lauren Zima. Venus was on Saturn, so maybe Saturn Gemini Chris Harrison informed his girlfriend. And she just was like, I'm gonna do it
for entertainment tonight.
Oh,
not the same. Yeah, me too.
Oh, I always forget that they're different. Wait.
But I mean, it wouldn't shock me if it was something like that. Like, it might have been one of those weird, like, placed.
Yeah.
Like how some people call paparazzi on themselves.
Someone said
like
something.
That type of shit. Same principle.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Like a press release that they released to them, but they were like, report this as a rumor. Yeah.
So
dramatic. Again, Sun and 12. Maybe the actual identity. The show was like, hey, we are doing this, but be sus about it. Because, yeah, her actual announcement from the show, the moon was in Cancer this time. Funny. And the sun, where's the sun? Sun was in Scorpio, which the literal announcement was the rumors are true. Fucking Scorpio sun. Jesus Christ. And Mercury and Venus were in Libra. And Libra's all about balance. And so it's funny, Tayshia was there to balance out the rest of the season because Claire was leaving. Ridiculous. And again, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all still in Capricorn. That's going to be the case literally for the rest of this time because this is when 2020 was happening and it was a shit show. But also that's why Tayshia's relationships and those conversations like Zach and Ivan and all that were very
fucking
hardcore.
Powerful,
Ben too. Yeah. Forgetting it was Ben a heavy eating season. Disorder.
A very heavy season.
Yeah, that's definitely because of 2020, because of Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn. It was going to, no matter what, be so
Because even like Matt,
heavy.
Though, like it was, we saw it in 2021, also, but it was filmed in 2020. Like,
yeah,
all that shit took place in 2020.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Also, man, more evidence in my brain that Tayshia is a Cancer rising because Moon was in Cancer at the time, and a couple of announcements prior have had Moon in the first house on these things. So it's like, I wonder if that Moon was in her first house when she was announced. Wild. But also her announcement came during Mars retrograde, which was not, her first announcement wasn't. So the spoiler, Mars was not retrograde, but the announcement of her via the show, Mars was retrograde. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, that rumor you heard about from 5 months ago, you know, like that's actually, yeah, that is true that she's here. Yeah. And also Mars retrograde, that's why that season was so physically violent. Same for actually no, November. This is when, wow, this is giving me so much better context because this is when Matt's season was filming, was in the fall. And so Mars retrograde was also, that's also why that season was so violent. And all of those Aries women just were so ready to fucking go.
Oh, so many Aries women.
All right. And the last chart that I pulled is the announcement of the double Bachelorette back-to-back seasons, because that's never happened before. There have never been 2 seasons of the Bachelorette back-to-back. But anyway, double Bachelorette back-to-back, and LOL Mars. During this announcement, Mars was in Gemini on the midheaven of the show. And what is Gemini rule but if not twins?
I believe in astrology enough based on the conversations that we've had, right? Like obviously that's our vibe here, is that you are an astrologer and I'm someone who is like dabbling. I'm like an astrology version.
You're
of
gonna
like an
be
agnostic,
so like
right?
smart.
Like I'm like an agnostic astrology fan, whatever that may be. But I feel like when you explain, do you know what I'm saying though? Like I like get it.
Wait,
you understand what I'm saying? Though? I believe in it, but I don't know as much as you do.
Yeah.
But
you're
every
like,
time
okay, how about this?
Speak,
how about this?
I'm
You're like
I like a little bit. I'm a believer a little bit more. I'm like I'm mudding my words a lot, but like it makes too much sense. Exactly.
When you come up to trends like this, yeah, like looking.
I believe
weird,
in coincidences,
like, you know, I've looked at
what not that fucking much.
8 charts in a row, and it's like every single thing is like, oh, there it is, there it is, there it is, and this is just transits. Like, this is what I love doing. This is because this is not a person.
Yeah.
This is just an entity. This is a show. Like, this is a chart.
Well, it's
not
like when you
for
point out patterns, it's
a
like
human
that
being.
can't be.
And so
they don't have an astrologer on staff that's sitting there and like making these patterns. Like they don't have someone sitting there doing this on purpose. So the fact that it just happens to be this way adds a little bit of validity to astrology as a whole in regards to this, for sure.
Yep. And especially because too, again, it's about an entity and not a person. Obviously, it's very easy as a person to kind of look at things that might be about your chart and be like, well, that's not me. I know myself and that's not me, or things like that. But this is just it's
not sentient.
This does not have like the show. Sure, the show has a personality and a voice. Right. And so it's consistently hitting these patterns, but also all these patterns hit our own natal charts too. But yeah, so wild times out here. And so this last chart I have, the double, also Saturn. Wow, Saturn was exactly on the show's Neptune. Exact 9 degrees. Oh my god, almost to the minute too. But that I feel like is very much, wow, we got Saturn and Aquarius. We're getting this change. We're gonna have another black bachelorette. We're having these 2 black women. I mean, not 2 black women, 2 bachelorette back to back. But it's almost at like no one was like, still people are still not happy with it. Like, people aren't happy that Katie is really the bachelorette. Like, why didn't Michelle just get to do it? But also, it's like, well, because Michelle didn't want to do it. Like, she wanted to do it, but she didn't want to do it.
I seriously
in the spring.
respect that so much.
Sure,
it really makes me love her so much more. That she's like, I know, sorry, I know, right? Have like a life outside of this, and like, you are not going to take over my life. Sorry.
Yep. My 4TRR is real. Oh my god. Also, wait, wow. The show. Okay, wait. So the announcement for the double Bachelorette seasons has Mercury in Aquarius at 28 degrees. And guess what else had Mercury Aquarius at 28 degrees? Was the announcement of Claire of the cut season. So was the cutoff. Mercury was in Aquarius exactly at 28 degrees. So the same Mercury is back to the same placement, and we're still in COVID. Actually, kind of weird to think about it. We're still in COVID. They both will still have isolated seasons, but it's a different vibe of like, oh, but now there's two of them. And Saturn was in Aquarius. Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter's like, more the merrier. Fuck it. Let's just do two. Let's just have two bachelorettes. Who cares?
There really are no rules anymore, huh?
Oh my God. And then, yeah, Sun, Venus, Neptune, and Pisces. There are no rules. Fuck it. Also, I think they too realized, I genuinely think that they realized, ABC realized they could air in the fall, that they could figure out how to put it on TV. Because for a long time, it was like, oh, well, football. Dude, what the fuck is happening outside? But yeah, football is happening and Dancing with the Stars, but they finally realized they were like,
I have so
fuck it,
many
we can just do
opinions on
Tuesdays.
Dancing with the Stars. Just talk about that sometime.
So anyway, whatever. Well, that are all my charts. Oh wait, fun fact: lunar return for the Double Bachelorette season's announcement. Aries moon. So anyway, wow, a lot of charts. I will send them to you. They will be visible on our YouTube. Well, anyway, quite an episode. Bachelorette is the chart that gets all of the shit, but then makes it to where the Bachelor gets to look pretty, which of course a Leo moon. So, but anyway, I don't even know what we're gonna talk about next week. We'll do another non-astrology episode next week. Do the Roses Align? At See the Roses Align on Instagram, and Astrology Chef and Jessica Jula. Love y'all.